My fiancé Michael was perfect on paper. 5 years of dating, a stunning house, a diamond ring that blinded people across the room, and a senior partnership track at a prestigious law firm. I, Zara, was organized, successful in my own right, and utterly devoted. Our wedding was less than a month away, and we were kicking off our pre-wedding celebrations with a lavish 2-week engagement moon in an overwater villa in the Maldives. Michael insisted on first class, arguing we need to make an impact on our social feeds. That should have been my first warning. Everything with Michael was about impact. Before we even left for the airport, the cracks started showing. I caught a glimpse of a text on his phone, a partial message about a goodbye, and it was necessary, and my stomach twisted. Michael snatched the phone away instantly, smoothing it over with a casual, "Work drama, darling. You know how intense they are about the merger." I wanted to believe him. I needed to. I loved him, or at least I loved the idea of us, so I pushed the unease down. As I packed my carry-on, I noticed a second burner phone Michael usually hid for high-security work calls. It was still in its usual forgotten spot in his travel briefcase. I didn't open it. I just slipped it into my own travel kit. I told myself it was for safekeeping. In truth, a tiny, cold voice in my mind whispered that I might need it later. It was a preemptive strike against the nagging doubt I couldn't ignore. We settled into the first-class cabin of the A380. It was pure luxury. Private suites, soft blankets, and endless top-shelf drinks. Michael was in his element. The long haul was exhausting, and after a congratulatory glass of Dom Perignon, I closed my eyes, planning to sleep for the next 8 hours. The cabin lights dimmed. I sank into the cushions, but the anxiety kept me hovering on the edge of sleep. I was startled awake not by turbulence, but by the sound of Michael's self-satisfied laughter. My eyes fluttered open just enough to see him leaning back, slightly slurring his words, deep in conversation with one of the main flight attendants. Her name, I would later learn, was Chloe. She was professional, attentive, and currently receiving a masterclass in Michael's inflated ego. He was already 2 glasses past tipsy. He was bragging about his firm, his upcoming promotion, and then he steered the conversation, naturally, to me. "She's great, Zara. Good for the image, you know. She's traditional, her family has money, and she's already picked out the best schools for the non-existent kids," he chuckled, waving his hand dismissively in my direction. "But honestly, she's just a little too predictable." My breath hitched. I remained completely still, my heart hammering against my ribs. He thought I was fast asleep. He leaned in closer to Chloe, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial, smug whisper. And then he delivered the line that vaporized my future, my trust, and my sanity. "Honestly, my mistress, Sienna, she's better in bed. She's the real fire. This trip is the end of that chapter. One last hurrah with Zara before I settle for comfortable mediocrity and secure my promotion." He took a long sip of his champagne, seemingly proud of his confession. My entire world stopped. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I finally dared to open my eyes a fraction wider, just enough to see Chloe's reaction. It wasn't pity. It was a controlled, burning fury. She maintained her professional smile, refilling Michael's glass, but our eyes met for a split second. A micro-expression of shared intense outrage passed between us. She saw me. She heard him. She was an unexpected, silent witness. This was the moment the game changed. I had an ally I didn't know I needed. For the remaining hours of the flight, I performed the acting job of my life. I maintained the facade of a tired, excited bride-to-be. But inside, I was planning. I spent the time meticulously recording Michael's subsequent self-congratulatory monologues on my phone. We landed in the Maldives. The setting was ridiculously beautiful. The private overwater villa, the turquoise water, the complimentary flowers. Michael was focused on getting the perfect Instagram content, already tagging locations and crafting captions about true love and paradise found. I knew I couldn't just divorce him. Michael was too good at spinning narratives. He would paint me as the emotional, hysterical ex-fiancé to protect his reputation, his career, and his money. I needed to ensure his downfall was total. My priority was gathering irrefutable evidence. While Michael was swimming or ordering room service, I went to work. I started with Sienna's name. I couldn't find her on his main phone, but I remembered the burner phone. I cracked the burner phone. The password was our wedding date. Inside, I found not just texts with Sienna, but a detailed spreadsheet. It was a financial ledger where Michael had meticulously tracked all his investments, and under the heading Future Planning, there was an itemized budget. Divorce settlement, Zara, $50,000, generous, and Sienna engagement ring fund, $150,000. He hadn't just cheated, he had planned my lowball exit while budgeting for his next relationship, using my family's money to finance his escape. The sight of the meager number he assigned to my worth turned my blood to ice. This ledger also contained the evidence of his corporate fraud. He wasn't just cheating his fiancé, he was cheating his law firm. He detailed how he used unofficial expenses to fund his lifestyle, including a luxury rental car and certain gifts for Sienna, routing them through a shell company client. I copied every single file to a secure cloud drive I controlled. The evidence was overwhelming. Next, the financial trap. I told him we needed to finalize the home ownership documents before the wedding for insurance purposes. I had my lawyer draw up an amendment that, buried in legalese, transferred all equity and ownership of the new house, which my parents had paid the deposit on, solely to me. He signed it without reading it, too busy watching a football game and basking in his own superiority. He was signing away his claim to the one major asset we shared. The hardest part was the performance. I had to look loving. I had to smile while knowing he was planning my financial and emotional ruin. I even recorded a casual video of him bragging about his smart expense account use during a drunken dinner, just for a little extra insurance. The final, most crucial piece was Chloe, the flight attendant. I needed her testimony. I used my network to contact the airline's customer service with a vague but urgent request about an extreme service issue on our flight, requesting a highly discreet meeting with the crew supervisor upon my return. It was Chloe who responded privately, agreeing to meet me at a neutral cafe near the airport. At the cafe, Chloe was cold, professional, and deeply serious. "I couldn't sleep after that flight, Zara," she confessed. "I've seen men like him. They think the world is their stage, and people like us are just extras. My father was the same, humiliated my mother publicly." The third twist, Chloe's secret weapon. Chloe reached into her bag. "I recorded him too, Zara, but not just the one line. I had my professional aviation recorder running because I was documenting a potential breach of airline conduct regarding intoxication and crew harassment. That recording is pristine, time-stamped, and it captures him detailing the shell company he uses for fraud, naming the partners he's been working against. It's not just cheating, it's corporate espionage." This was better than I could have dreamed of. I offered her a generous sum and promised legal representation if the firm retaliated. Chloe accepted, not for the money, but for the principle. We were allies in justice. She copied the file for me, and we synchronized our plan. I knew Michael was hosting his pre-promotion celebratory party the following week, a massive, televised Black-TieGala. This was the stage. I went home and played the perfect fiancé again. I helped him dress, acting like the devoted, beaming bride-to-be. I even picked out his tie. I also sent a private, anonymous invitation to Sienna, the mistress, letting her know Michael would be making a very public announcement about their future, mentioning a diamond ring and a new beginning. I knew Michael had told Sienna I was just a rich fool he was using. Now she would realize she was the fool who was about to be discarded. We walked into the gala. Michael was radiant, a king greeting his subjects. He was introduced for his speech, and the CEO gushed about his dedication and his supportive, beautiful fiancé. Michael called me to the stage, preparing to announce our quiet separation. I took the microphone. My smile was serene, but my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of impending total release. "Thank you, Michael," I said, my voice clear and amplified. "And thank you to all the partners here tonight. I especially want to thank the firm for allowing Michael the generous use of company funds, resources, and private jets for romantic rendezvous with his mistress, Sienna." The ballroom went silent. Michael looked like he'd been hit by a truck. He sputtered, "Zara, what is this? We agreed to be amicable." "Amicable?" I laughed, a sharp, cold sound. "You budgeted $50,000 for my amicability, Michael, a generous pittance." Just as Michael was trying to pull the mic away, one of the senior partners, Mr. Thompson, stepped up to the stage, looking pale but oddly prepared. "Michael, Zara, I think there has been a terrible misunderstanding," Thompson said, trying to seize control. "Michael is a valued member of this firm, and any personal issues should be kept private." I looked directly at Thompson. "You think this is a personal issue, Mr. Thompson, or is it a corporate one? Because I have a detailed, audio-recorded confession from Michael, made on a commercial flight no less, detailing the shell company you've been using to siphon company funds with him." Thompson froze. His eyes widened, not at the cheating, but at the mention of the shell company. He wasn't defending Michael. He was trying to protect his own involvement. Michael wasn't the only crook. He was just the most careless one. "Sienna," I announced, ignoring Thompson's panicked whispers. "She's here tonight." She was so excited about his public announcement, she simply had to attend. Sienna, the mistress, walked in, looking glamorous and utterly confused, only to realize the announcement wasn't about her, but about Michael's total public disgrace. She instantly started screaming at Michael, realizing she was the one who had been played. "Hysterical?" I cut Michael off again. "No, Michael, I'm factual. I present the facts, straight from the source." I pulled out a small, prepared device and pressed play. The pristine, amplified voice of Michael, arrogant and drunk, filled the opulent ballroom. "Honestly, my mistress, Sienna, she's better in bed. She's the real fire. This trip is the end of that chapter. One last hurrah with Zara before I settle for comfortable mediocrity." Chaos erupted. Michael lunged for the device, but the security team, now acting under the direct, panicked orders of Thompson, who wanted to protect his shell company secrets, blocked him. I waited for the noise to subside. Then I delivered the final, crippling blows. "Michael signed this document on our honeymoon," I said, holding up the notarized amendment. "It transfers all ownership of the new house, funded by my family, solely to me. He signed away his entire stake. He owns nothing but the debt he incurred during his generous 5-year plan. And as for the firm's assets," I continued, looking directly at Thompson and the CEO, "I've already submitted the irrefutable, time-stamped audio recording, courtesy of the flight crew, detailing the corporate fraud, along with Michael's personal spreadsheet ledger, to the SEC and the State Bar Association. He won't be practicing law or any business for a very long time." A tall, impeccably dressed man stepped forward from the crowd. He was Sienna's actual husband. He hadn't been invited. He had been following Sienna after a private investigator tipped him off about her attendance at the law firm gala. "Thank you, Zara," the man said, his voice quiet but deadly. "You've saved me a lot of time. Michael, you've just lost your fiancé, your career, your house, and that spreadsheet will interest the FBI a great deal. As for Sienna, I'll be seeing you in divorce court." Michael was left standing on the stage, a pariah. His future was incinerated. I took the blinding diamond engagement ring off my finger, held it up for everyone to see, and then dropped it neatly into his glass of celebratory champagne. I said my final words, the ones that sealed his fate. "The view was great, Michael, but the company, not so much. Enjoy your mediocre landing." I walked out of the gala. Michael was utterly ruined by his own arrogance and his fatal, whispered mistake on a first-class flight. He was fired the next morning, disbarred, and faced financial investigations. Mr. Thompson was forced into an early, costly retirement. Sienna's divorce was messy. Michael's spreadsheet, the one meant to calculate my meager worth, became the roadmap for his total destruction. I didn't get revenge. I got justice, delivered with surgical precision. And I sent Chloe, my unexpected ally, a personalized thank you note and a first-class travel voucher for a flight I knew would be peaceful. That 60,000-foot flight. I didn't fake a thing. You just played yourself at 30,000 feet, and I got the receipts.